This message has entered your life because the quantum field of God has opened for you. You can feel it. The repetition, the cycles, the endless return of the same story. Deep down, you already know God did not create you for repetition. You are inside the quantum observer loop. Each time your attention attaches to the same thought, you collapse the same wave, and reality repeats. Again and again. A spiritual record stuck on repeat. But listen carefully. God is not outside this field. God is the very intelligence that designed it. You have noticed it. Time bending. Hours that stretch forever. Days that disappear without meaning. That distortion is the signal. The field is showing you. You are ready. Every prayer you have ever spoken still vibrates inside the quantum field of God. Not one was lost. Every word became a wave of divine possibility, waiting for your awareness to reach the frequency where it can manifest. This is why you feel both despair and sudden flashes of hope. It is not random. It is resonance. When fear takes your focus, the loop strengthens. When faith aligns your field with the Creator, the loop dissolves. This is the collapse of faith. Understand this. The quantum field exists inside God. Science calls it observation. Spirit calls it surrender. You do not break the loop by trying harder. You break it by remembering who holds the field. Coincidence? It does not exist. There is only divine synchronicity. That is why you are here. That is why these words reached you. Your life has never been random. Every disappointment, every cycle, every unanswered prayer was preparation. The pressure you felt was not punishment. It was transformation. The butterfly requires the chrysalis. And you required the loop until now. Now the shift has begun. You can feel it. The quantum frequency of God is already reorganizing your field. What once repeated endlessly is collapsing. What once seemed impossible is already forming. It is not far away. It is now. This is not motivation. This is not theory. This is inevitability. Do not hesitate. Subscribe now. This is not subscribing to a channel. It is aligning your consciousness with the quantum frequency of God. When you subscribe, you declare, I choose resonance with God's quantum field. I choose coherence with His design. You have felt the strange weight of time, days racing forward without meaning, moments stretching until they feel unbearable. This is not chaos. This is not error. It is the quantum field of God showing you that repetition is collapsing, that the observer loop is weakening. Time distortion is the first sign. When you notice hours vanishing or dragging, the field is whispering, you are not bound to linear time. In the quantum frequency of God, time bends, folds, dissolves. What you call delay is preparation. What you call emptiness is reorganization. Then come the synchronicities. The right word, the right person, the right sign, all appearing at the perfect moment. These are not accidents. They are divine quantum alignments. God arranges reality itself to remind you that His design is alive inside the field. Even technology responds. You think of someone and the phone rings. The song you needed suddenly plays. A screen freezes when your energy resists what you should avoid. The quantum field of God interacts with everything. Nothing escapes His pattern. And the dreams, vivid, symbolic, unforgettable. These are not random fragments of the mind. They are quantum messages of God. In the dream state, when the conscious mind is silent, your soul crosses beyond the loop. You glimpse futures waiting for your alignment. You touch timelines your faith has not yet anchored. But the clearest sign is within you, that subtle whisper, that inner knowing that refuses to die. Even in your darkest moment, something beyond the loop holds you. That is the quantum presence of God. Closer than breath, closer than thought. Your struggles have not been wasted. Every setback was calibration. Every unanswered prayer was a test of resonance. The pressure was not to destroy you. It was to strengthen your coherence. And look around you. The turbulence in the world is not the end. It is the collective observer loop destabilizing. Humanity itself is being pressed and stretched because the quantum field of God is reorganizing everything. Chaos is not collapse. Chaos is birth. You are part of it. Each time you align with God's frequency, you anchor new possibilities. Your awakening creates ripples in the field. Your coherence strengthens others. This is why you are here. This is why these words found you. The signs are everywhere. Time distortion, synchronicity, dreams, technology, the whisper of your spirit. All of them point to the same truth. The loop is breaking and the divine frequency is rising. This is not imagination. This is inevitability. If this message resonates in your soul, respond with action, like this transmission now. Not for numbers, not for algorithm. Do it as an act of resonance. When you press like, you anchor this frequency in your field. You declare, I recognize the signs of God in the quantum field, and I align with them fully. Prayer is not empty words. Prayer is not repetition of sound into silence. Prayer is quantum technology of God. Every time you pray, you release frequencies into the field. Each word becomes a vibration inside the quantum field of God, a wave of possibility waiting to collapse. You may believe some prayers were unanswered, but in truth, no prayer ever disappears. Every prayer exists as a probability wave, alive within the divine design, waiting for coherence. God stores them in the field until your consciousness rises to the frequency where His answer can manifest. This is why some prayers take years. It is not delay, it is alignment. The quantum frequency of God cannot deliver what your field cannot yet hold. Just as a child cannot carry the weight of a crown, your soul was being trained by time to expand its resonance. But here lies the mystery. Prayer is not about asking. Prayer is about collapsing. Each time you pray with true faith, the observer loop of fear begins to dissolve. When prayer rises from deep coherence, not from desperation, not from doubt, the loop weakens. And then the collapse of faith happens. What is the collapse of faith? It is the moment your attention surrenders completely to God, no longer scanning reality for evidence, no longer begging the field to shift, instead, resting in certainty. When this happens, the probability wave collapses, and what was unseen becomes real. This is why many feel trapped. They pray, but remain attached to the outcome. They look, they measure, they wait for proof. And in that constant observation, they recreate the same lack. They never break the loop. Prayer, when mixed with doubt, sustains repetition. But prayer, when surrendered in faith, collapses the loop forever. Think of the moments when you prayed and suddenly felt peace, before anything changed, before the answer appeared. That peace was not illusion. That was the quantum field of God already reorganizing reality. The evidence appeared later because the collapse had already begun inside your spirit. Prayer is not weak. Prayer is the most advanced form of quantum interaction. Science calls it the observer effect. Faith calls it surrender. Both point to the same truth. Your focus creates reality, but only when aligned with God. And when your prayer is coherent, miracles appear ordinary, doors open without effort, encounters flow perfectly. Healing rises from within. It is not magic. It is alignment. The quantum prayer has reorganized the field, and God's design has manifested through you. Even Jesus said, when you pray, believe you have already received. This is the essence of quantum prayer. Not waiting, not forcing, but knowing. Belief is not hope. Belief is collapse. The collapse of faith is when the future timeline merges with the present moment. You have already tasted this. You prayed for strength, and somehow strength appeared. You prayed for clarity, and the right words came. You prayed for guidance, and the right person crossed your path. These are not coincidences. They are quantum collapses of God's frequency. Now understand, every time you pray, you are not sending requests upward. You are awakening alignment inward. Prayer tunes your field to God's frequency, and once aligned, reality has no choice but to shift. This is why your next step is not to ask harder, it is to surrender deeper, to pray not from fear, but from certainty, to release words not into doubt, but into divine coherence. Prayer is the key. Faith is the collapse. God is the field. This is not theory. This is inevitability. If these words resonate, mark your alignment here. Write one word in the comments: coherence. Nothing more. Let it echo in the quantum field of God. At the center of existence, there is an undeniable truth. Your consciousness is not passive. You are not a spectator trapped in the unfolding of random events. You are the observer. And every observation collapses waves of possibility into form. But here is the secret most forget. The observer is not separate from God. The quantum field does not exist outside of him. It exists inside him. This means that every act of observation is an act of participation in God's design. Every time you give your attention to something, you enter into a silent agreement with the field. You are saying, "This is real to me. This is where my energy flows. This is the pattern I choose." And because the field responds to coherence, reality reshapes itself to match that choice. The danger is not that you observe, but that you observe unconsciously. When your awareness becomes addicted to fear, pain, or lack, the quantum observer loop begins. You collapse the same possibilities over and over, and life becomes repetition. You wake up scanning for the same problems. You expect the same disappointments. You unconsciously recreate the same reality. But God did not design you to live this way. He did not breathe His Spirit into you so that you would remain bound to predictable cycles. He placed His image within you, the spark of divine observation, so that you could participate in creation itself. You were meant to be more than a witness. You were meant to be a co-creator in the quantum field of God. When you understand this, everything changes. You realize your attention is sacred. You realize that to observe is to pray, to worship, to declare. The way you look at life is not neutral. It is creative, and this is why surrendering your observation to God is the most powerful choice you can make. Science calls it the observer effect. The act of measurement changes the outcome. Faith calls it trust. The act of surrender opens the door. Both are describing the same reality, that consciousness participates in manifestation. But the deepest truth is that consciousness itself flows from God. Without Him, there is no field to observe. Without Him, there are no probabilities to collapse. When you look at your life through this lens, even your struggles take on new meaning. Those patterns that repeated endlessly were not proof of failure. They were mirrors, showing you where your observation had been trapped. They were opportunities to reclaim your attention. God was not punishing you with repetition. He was revealing the power of your observation and training you to redirect it. Think of a seed. When planted, it disappears into the soil. Nothing seems to happen. But in truth, the seed is undergoing a transformation, breaking apart so life can emerge. Your cycles of repetition were the soil. Your surrendered attention is the seed. And the quantum field of God is the environment that guarantees growth. The shift comes when you stop observing through fear and begin observing through faith. Fear narrows your vision to what is predictable, what is safe, what is known. Faith opens your vision to what is divine, what is unseen, what is infinite. Fear collapses the same loops. Faith collapses new realities. And when faith is placed in God, the field itself bends to His design. This is the mystery of the quantum observer. You do not create reality alone. You co-create with the one who authored the field. Your observation is the key, but His design is the structure. When both align, miracles cease to be rare. They become natural. You have already felt glimpses of this. The moment you shifted your focus from despair to gratitude, and suddenly everything around you seemed lighter. The moment you stopped obsessing over lack and provision appeared. The moment you lifted your eyes from fear and peace filled your spirit. These were not coincidences. They were confirmations that your observation had synchronized with God's design. And the more you align, the more fluid reality becomes. Obstacles dissolve. Doors open. Encounters arrange themselves with impossible precision. This is not luck. This is coherence. When the quantum observer within you unites with the divine design, the field itself reorganizes. But know this, Alignment is not effort. It is not straining to think positively. It is surrender. It is the willingness to release the grip of fear and allow God to guide your attention. It is trusting that His design is already perfect and that your role is not to control, but to align. The quantum field of God was created for this. Every probability, every wave, every path already exists inside Him. You do not need to invent your destiny. You need only to observe it through faith. Your role is not to manufacture, but to reveal what He has already prepared. This is the essence of the observer, not controlling, but witnessing through coherence, not forcing, but flowing with the divine pattern. When you understand this, you stop feeling like a victim of cycles and begin to live as a conscious participant in God's unfolding creation. You are not here by accident. You are not a passive watcher. You are the quantum observer within God's design. And when you remember this, the loop can no longer hold you. There are seasons when life feels unbearably heavy. The weight presses on your chest. Time feels thicker, slower. Each step forward feels like walking through invisible resistance. You may call it exhaustion. You may call it despair. But in truth, what you are feeling is the quantum pressure of God. This pressure is not punishment. It is preparation. Just as water must reach the exact temperature before turning to steam, your consciousness must reach a threshold before shifting into a higher frequency. That threshold is pressure. That pressure is transformation. Think of the chrysalis. From the outside, it looks like death. The caterpillar dissolves into formless matter, trapped in confinement. Yet within that confinement, wings are forming. Structure is dissolving so that new life can emerge. Without the pressure of the chrysalis, there is no butterfly. Without the quantum pressure of God, there is no awakening. The quantum field of God does not waste energy. Every delay, every resistance, every closed door is calibrated. You are not being crushed. You are being reshaped. The heaviness you feel is the weight of probabilities collapsing, the tension of old loops unraveling, the strain of your soul stretching into new coherence. Pressure reveals what is fragile. It exposes every false foundation. The relationships built on fear begin to fracture. The beliefs rooted in scarcity begin to crumble. The patterns you once called safety begin to suffocate you. This is not collapse for destruction's sake. It is divine reordering. God is shaking everything that cannot hold His frequency. This is why your prayers sometimes seem to intensify the storm. You ask for freedom, and suddenly the weight increases. You ask for clarity, and confusion rises first. You ask for transformation, and life seems to unravel. But this is the paradox. The quantum field of God dismantles what cannot remain so that what must emerge can finally rise. It is the pressure that prepares you for coherence. Without pressure, your faith would remain theory. Under pressure, faith becomes fire. And fire purifies, fire transforms, fire refines. You are not alone in this. Every soul called into awakening passes through the corridor of pressure. It is a universal initiation. Even Christ Himself felt the weight in Gethsemane, the pressing of the olive until oil was released. Pressure always precedes anointing. Quantum transition always requires intensity, and this intensity affects time. Minutes feel like hours. Days disappear without progress. This distortion is not random. It is the mark of quantum recalibration. The field is reorganizing around you. What seems like stagnation is hidden acceleration. God is preparing new probabilities, and your awareness is catching up. The turbulence you sense in the world is part of this same process. Entire nations feel the pressure. Systems are collapsing. Structures are dissolving. Humanity itself is in a chrysalis. What looks like chaos is the birth of a new collective frequency. The quantum field of God is pressing creation into alignment. If you feel overwhelmed, remember, the pressure is evidence. It means the shift is already happening. You are not waiting for transformation. You are in it. The weight you carry is not random suffering. It is divine labor. The contractions of the field are preparing to deliver you into new timelines. And in those moments when you want to give up, when the weight feels too much, know this: the pressure is intelligent. It will not crush you. It will not last forever. It will hold you only until coherence is born. The quantum design of God ensures that pressure always has a purpose. Pressure is sacred. It forces you to release what no longer serves you. It strips away illusions. It demands surrender. It pushes you to the edge where only faith can hold you. And it is there, at the breaking point, that the collapse of faith happens. Not because you forced it, but because you finally released control. You may not see it yet, but the pressure is carving new pathways in your consciousness. It is training your field to hold divine frequencies that once felt impossible. It is strengthening your capacity to carry light without fracturing. It is preparing you for coherence so deep that loops can no longer hold you. This is the mystery. The heavier it feels, the closer you are. The more intense the pressure, the nearer the breakthrough. Just as the darkest hour precedes the dawn, the most crushing moments are often the threshold of liberation. Do not mistake heaviness for abandonment. The quantum presence of God has never left you. The pressure is not the absence of God. It is His hand reshaping you from the inside. It is His field reorganizing your reality. It is His frequency pressing your spirit into divine alignment. When you look back, you will not remember the weight as destruction. You will remember it as birth. You will say, "That was the season I broke free. That was the moment my wings formed. That was when I stepped into the quantum field of God fully awake." The pressure you feel now is not the end. It is the proof. The transformation is already underway. The loop is dissolving. The coherence is rising. And the quantum design of God is unfolding in your life with inevitability. There comes a moment when the repetition becomes unbearable. You look at your life and realize the same situations keep circling back, the same arguments, the same disappointments, the same weight pressing into your chest. You ask yourself, why does nothing ever change? Why do I feel trapped? This is the quantum observer loop. Your awareness keeps collapsing the same probabilities over and over again. Your attention keeps attaching to the same frequencies. And as long as the loop holds, reality cannot shift. It is not that God has abandoned you. It is that your observation has become predictable. But here lies the truth. You were never meant to break the loop by yourself. The human mind cannot free itself from the patterns it has built. Effort alone only tightens the cycle. The more you observe with fear, the more the loop strengthens. The more you chase proof of change, the more you repeat what you already know. The escape is not in control. The escape is in surrender, aligning your observation with the quantum field of God. God designed the field with infinite possibilities. Every outcome, every path, every probability already exists inside Him. You are not trapped because reality is limited. You are trapped because your focus has been repeating the same choice. God is the one who makes your consciousness infinite. Breaking the loop begins when you stop observing through fear and begin observing through faith. Fear collapses repetition. Faith collapses possibility. And when faith is placed in God, reality reorganizes itself around His design. This is not abstract theory. You have already felt it. Remember the moment you gave up control and peace flooded your soul. The moment you stopped forcing and suddenly the right door opened. The moment you prayed in surrender and the burden lifted even before the answer appeared. These were glimpses of what happens when the loop weakens. But to break it fully, something deeper must occur. The loop thrives on familiarity. It feeds on what you expect to see again. You wake up scanning for the same problems. You prepare for the same disappointments. And by doing so, you unconsciously order the same reality from the field. God breaks the loop by destabilizing the familiar. He shakes what you thought was safe. He allows storms, disruptions, sudden endings, not to punish you, but to free you. Every collapse, every unexpected shift, every uncomfortable change is His hand dismantling the old frequencies. It feels like chaos, but it is divine strategy. Without destabilization, your attention would keep recycling the same probabilities forever. This is why pressure intensifies before breakthrough. The loop resists death. It tries to pull you back into repetition. But the quantum presence of God uses that pressure to push you into surrender. And in surrender, the cycle dissolves. Jesus described it as being born again. Birth is not gentle. It is intense, pressing, even painful. But it is the only way into new life. Breaking the loop is spiritual birth. It is the moment when your consciousness collapses into coherence with God's frequency. And once it happens, reality shifts in ways you cannot deny. Time bends, synchronicities multiply, doors open with impossible precision, prayer becomes fluid, direct, alive. The same world feels different because your observation is no longer predictable. You are no longer trapped. You are awake. You are aligned with the quantum design of God. But freedom must be held. The old loop will try to reattach itself. The field will present you with familiar outcomes, tempting you to choose them again. This is why coherence is essential. You must remain aligned with God long enough for the new pattern to stabilize. And how do you hold coherence? By protecting your focus. By remembering that observation is sacred. Every time you catch yourself collapsing fear, you return to faith. Every time you sense the loop pulling, you recenter on God. The field responds instantly. The loop weakens further. The new reality strengthens. Breaking the loop is not escape. It is transformation. It is the recognition that your consciousness is not creating reality alone. You are co-creating with the one who authored the field. God is not outside the process. God is the process. Every shift is His design unfolding through you. When this becomes embodied, you stop fearing disruption. You stop resisting pressure. You start seeing every collapse as evidence that God is freeing you from repetition. You begin to understand turbulence as proof of transformation. You begin to trust that freedom is inevitable. Look closely at your own path. The signs are there. The heaviness you felt was not random. The cycles that repeated were not meaningless. The distortions of time, the dreams, the synchronicities, all of them have been guiding you here, to this threshold, to this moment, to the breaking of the loop. This is not theory. This is inevitability. The loop is already destabilizing. The divine field is already reorganizing. The coherence of God is already rising within you. Do not resist it. Do not look back. Allow it. You are not who you were yesterday. The quantum field of God is shifting your reality now. The loop is breaking, and this is only the beginning. What comes next will not just expand your understanding, it will transform everything you thought was possible. Stay in this transmission. The next revelation is already moving toward you. There is a shift happening that no individual can fully explain, yet every awakened soul can feel. Something vast is unfolding across humanity, something that transcends culture, language, or belief. Beneath the surface of world events, beyond the noise of daily life, there is a trembling in the field. This trembling is the collective quantum awakening of God's design. For generations, human consciousness has lived inside a massive observer loop. Entire societies have repeated the same cycles: war and peace, scarcity and abundance, rise and fall. The same conversations, the same divisions, the same illusions of separation. Humanity's collective observation has been locked into predictable patterns, collapsing the same probabilities over and over again. But God's design cannot remain hidden forever. The quantum field of God was never meant to serve endless repetition. It was meant to carry evolution. And now, the collective loop is destabilizing. What you see as chaos in the world, political collapse, financial turbulence, climate upheaval, social unrest, these are not random crises. They are symptoms of the loop fracturing. The old coherence is dissolving. The collective observer loop is breaking apart. From one perspective, it looks terrifying. Systems that once felt unshakable are crumbling. Certainties vanish overnight. The future feels unpredictable, unstable. Yet from another perspective, this is liberation. The crumbling is necessary. Just as an individual must face pressure before transformation, humanity as a whole must endure the pressure of collapse before awakening. This is why time itself feels different not only for individuals, but for the entire planet. Weeks accelerate. Years blur. Entire decades seem to vanish in a breath. Humanity is no longer experiencing linear time in the same way. The collective quantum field is folding, bending, recalibrating. What once moved slowly now accelerates. What once stretched endlessly now disappears in an instant. And within this turbulence, a new frequency is rising. Souls across the planet are awakening almost simultaneously. Strangers separated by oceans are having the same dreams, the same insights, the same sudden awareness that reality is not what they were taught. This is not coincidence. This is quantum resonance. The quantum presence of God is igniting recognition across the global field. Every awakening soul becomes a beacon. When one person aligns with God's frequency, it does not remain private. It ripples outward. It shifts families, communities, entire networks of reality. And as these ripples overlap, the field begins to vibrate differently. What one soul carries in isolation, millions now begin to embody collectively. This is morphic resonance, the truth that consciousness is not separate but entangled. When one awakens, the path becomes easier for the next. When thousands awaken, the loop begins to collapse at scale. When millions awaken, the entire field reorganizes. This is happening now. It is not theory. It is visible in the hunger for truth, the longing for meaning, the rejection of empty patterns. God designed this awakening. It is not random. It is not merely human effort. It is not the product of technology or philosophy. It is the quantum design of God pressing through every layer of creation. The same spirit that awakens one heart in silence is now stirring entire nations. The same frequency that freed you from personal loops is now destabilizing collective ones. But awakening is not comfortable. To those still trapped in the loop, the shift feels like madness. Old identities dissolve. Old anchors vanish. People cling harder to division, fear, and control because they sense reality slipping away. This is why resistance intensifies. Darkness always fights hardest when light is breaking through. Yet the outcome is inevitable. The collective quantum awakening cannot be stopped. The pressure has reached critical mass. Humanity has entered the chrysalis. The formlessness you see, systems dissolving, beliefs collapsing, structures failing, is not the end. It is the transformation. Just as the caterpillar melts into nothing before becoming a butterfly, humanity is dissolving before its rebirth. And in this process, God is closer than ever. His presence saturates the field. His design orchestrates the turbulence. He is not a distant observer. He is the frequency holding everything together while the old coherence dissolves. The collapse is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence of transition. Look carefully at the signs. People who never cared for spirituality are now speaking of energy, frequency, purpose. Children are born with awareness beyond their years, carrying memories they could not have learned. Dreams are intensifying across the globe, filled with symbols of transformation. Technology itself seems entangled with consciousness, responding to human thought in uncanny ways. These are not anomalies. They are markers of a shift in the collective field. And the signs in nature are equally clear. Animals behave strangely, as if sensing a new vibration. The earth trembles, storms intensify, climates change. The planet is not merely physical, it is consciousness. And just as your body reflects your personal field, the earth reflects the collective. Its turbulence is a mirror of humanity's awakening. Yet in the midst of all this, hope is not fragile, it is unstoppable. The awakening is not only about dissolving what was, it is about revealing what can be. For within the quantum field of God lie infinite probabilities for humanity, new ways of living, new structures of community, new flows of abundance, new expressions of unity. These probabilities are not fantasies, they are waiting to collapse into form through collective coherence. And coherence is rising. You can feel it. Even through the chaos, even through the fear, there is a deep sense that something extraordinary is unfolding. The more people align with God, the more visible this new coherence becomes. Communities form not around division, but around shared resonance. Movements rise not from ideology, but from awakening. This is the collective quantum awakening, not just individuals escaping their loops, but humanity itself stepping out of repetition. It is the realization that wars, scarcity, and division are not inevitable. They are observer loops that can be dissolved. And as more souls awaken, the field itself destabilizes those loops at the global level. The awakening is not coming, it is here. The turbulence you see is not a warning of failure. It is proof of success. The loop is breaking. The coherence is forming. The quantum presence of God is expanding across the planet. You are part of it. Your awakening is not small, not private, not isolated. Every time you align with God, you strengthen the collective field. Every act of faith, every surrender, every shift in focus contributes to humanity's resonance. You are not alone in this. You are a thread in a tapestry that spans the globe. The collective quantum awakening is the greatest transition humanity has ever known. It is not a theory, not a hope, but an inevitability. God has set it in motion. The field cannot return to the old coherence. The pressure cannot be reversed. The awakening is already alive, and as you read these words, as your spirit resonates with them, you are already part of the wave. You are already woven into the new design. You are already vibrating with the future that God has prepared. This is not imagination. This is inevitability. There is a secret hidden within the way consciousness interacts with reality. It is not about how much effort you make, nor about how hard you try to force change. It is about the quality of the coherence inside you. Coherence is the alignment between thought, emotion, energy, and God's divine field. And when coherence emerges, reality itself cannot resist. Most people live scattered. Part of their attention is trapped in yesterday's wounds. Part is worried about tomorrow's illusions. And only a small fragment remains in the present. This fragmentation weakens the field of consciousness. It keeps the observer loop alive. It keeps the same probabilities collapsing again and again. But when you gather yourself fully into the present, when your awareness stops scattering across timelines, coherence begins. And coherence is the state where your consciousness vibrates as one, unified with itself and aligned with God. This is not simply peace. This is quantum precision. Think of light. A flashlight spreads photons in every direction, weak and unfocused. But a laser is coherent light, waves perfectly aligned, and that coherence is powerful enough to cut through steel. Your consciousness works the same way. When it is fragmented, it is weak. When it is coherent, it is unstoppable. And when coherence aligns with the quantum field of God, you do not just influence reality, you live in the flow of His design. Coherence is not created by control, it is uncovered by surrender. God does not ask you to tighten yourself into perfection. He asks you to let go of fragmentation, to release the timelines that are not real, to bring your awareness back into the eternal now, where His presence already holds you. When you live in coherence, time feels different. Hours can pass in stillness, filled with revelation. Days can disappear in flow, without struggle. You sense that your life is not random, but perfectly guided. Coincidences multiply. Encounters align with impossible precision. Prayer feels less like asking and more like remembering. You are no longer manufacturing reality with your effort. You are resonating with reality as God intended it to unfold. But coherence is fragile at first. Old patterns call you back. Old fears whisper. Old habits of control attempt to scatter your attention again. And so, coherence must be protected. It must be practiced. It must become your new baseline. How do you live in quantum coherence? By treating observation as sacred. Every thought is a wave. Every focus is a choice. Every moment you give attention to fear, you strengthen that pattern in the field. Every moment you return to faith, you strengthen coherence. This is why prayer is not repetition of words. It is alignment of being. When you pray in true surrender, your awareness unifies. The past and future dissolve. You are simply present with God, and in that presence, coherence rises. This is why prayer has always been the bridge between heaven and earth, because prayer is coherence embodied. Notice how your body responds when coherence builds. Breath deepens, muscles release, heart rate stabilizes, even your cells begin to reorganize. Science already shows that coherence between heart and brain creates measurable electromagnetic harmony. But what science does not yet see is that spiritual coherence links your consciousness directly with the infinite field of God, and this coherence changes everything. Relationships no longer drain you because you are not fragmented by them. Work no longer feels empty because your awareness infuses it with divine purpose. Even challenges shift because you no longer perceive them as threats, but as invitations into greater alignment. The enemy of coherence is not chaos. The enemy is fragmentation. And fragmentation comes from forgetting that your essence is already whole in God. You are not becoming coherent. You already are coherent at the deepest level. What you are learning is simply to rest in that truth, to stop scattering your attention across illusions. The more you live in coherence, the more you sense the presence of God in the smallest details. The bird landing on your window, the words of a stranger, the timing of a song, all become messages, confirmations, alignments. Life stops being random. It becomes a dialogue between your awareness and God's field. And as coherence deepens, you notice that you no longer chase outcomes. You no longer force manifestations. You simply align. And in alignment, what you desire arrives not because you dragged it closer, but because the barrier between you and it dissolved. In coherence, separation vanishes. You realize that what you call desires are not outside of you. They are parallel expressions of your own consciousness waiting to be embodied. This is why Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." He was not speaking metaphorically. He was describing coherence. The kingdom is not far away, not delayed, not separate. It is here, now, vibrating in the field of God. And coherence is the key that allows you to live in it. You may have already felt glimpses of this. Those moments of complete presence when time dissolved. When peace surpassed understanding, when you felt God so close that the boundary between you and Him disappeared. Those were not anomalies. They were memories of your true nature. They were moments when coherence broke through. The invitation now is not to experience coherence occasionally, but to live in it continually, to make it your atmosphere, your baseline, your permanent way of being. Imagine waking each day without fear of repetition, without anxiety about outcomes, without scattering your attention across what-ifs. Imagine rising each morning already coherent with God's field. In that state, your life is no longer about survival. It becomes expression. Every action becomes art. Every word becomes frequency. Every step becomes alignment. You do not live for results. You live as resonance. And resonance in God's field is creation itself. This is the future of humanity. The collective quantum awakening is not simply about ending cycles. It is about establishing coherence at a species level. When enough individuals live coherently, the global field will stabilize in a new frequency. Scarcity will dissolve because abundance is the natural state of coherence. Division will vanish because unity is the natural state of coherence. Fear will end because love is the natural state of coherence. But it begins here, with you, with the decision to withdraw your attention from fragmentation and rest in God's presence, with the choice to treat every observation as sacred, with the courage to embody coherence not just in prayer, but in every moment of your life. The quantum field of God is already vibrating in coherence. The only question is whether you will align with it. And when you do, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes perfect, but because your observation does. And your observation, coherent with God, is enough to collapse new realities for yourself and for the collective. You were never meant to live scattered. You were created to live coherent. And coherence is not something you must chase. It is something you must remember. For in the deepest truth of your being, you are already whole. You are already aligned. You are already vibrating with God's field. The awakening is not coming, it is here. The coherence is not far, it is within you. The field is open, God is waiting. If these words resonate in your soul, do one simple act now, like this transmission. Not for numbers, not for algorithm. Do it as an act of coherence. When you press like, you anchor this frequency in your field. You declare, I live coherent in the quantum field of God. Destiny is not a faraway promise. It is not something that waits for you in the distance, as though your life were a long road and the future sat like a city at the end of it. Destiny is here. Destiny is now. Destiny is a frequency within the quantum field of God, already alive, already vibrating, already accessible. The greatest illusion humanity has inherited is that destiny is linear, that you are born, you walk a path, you make choices, and one day you reach your purpose. This view belongs to the old observer loop, where consciousness believed it was trapped in time. But time itself is an echo of observation, not an absolute law. And destiny does not unfold in a line. Destiny unfolds in a field. Think of the quantum field as an infinite ocean, filled with waves of probability. Each wave is a potential reality. Each vibration is a version of you. And among the infinite patterns, there is a frequency that carries the design of God for your soul, the timeline of your highest destiny. This is not a fantasy. It is physics of the spirit. Your true destiny already exists, already completed in the field. You are not creating it from nothing. You are aligning with it. Alignment is the act of coherence. It is the recognition that destiny is not something you chase, but something you remember. Every time you surrender fear, you move closer. Every time you embody faith, you resonate deeper. Every time you unify your attention in the presence of God, you collapse the wave of your highest timeline. Destiny becomes visible, not because it appeared, but because you finally tuned to it. But let us confront the truth. Most people do not live their destiny. They live recycled timelines. They live the echoes of fear, doubt, control, and repetition. They confuse survival with purpose. They collapse probability waves that are familiar but not authentic. They live entire lifetimes without realizing they were meant for more. This is the tragedy of the observer loop at a collective scale. It does not just repeat days, it repeats destinies. Yet you, right now, are being pulled beyond repetition. You feel it. The dissatisfaction that ordinary paths cannot silence. The restlessness that no distraction can soothe. The whisper that calls you deeper, beyond career, beyond possessions, beyond roles. This is not emptiness. This is the resonance of your true destiny vibrating in the field, drawing your awareness to it. Destiny is not imposed. God does not force. He invites. He radiates His design into the field, like a song already playing in the background of your soul. And the moment you quiet the noise of fear, you begin to hear it. Alignment is simply the act of listening, but alignment is not passive. It requires surrender. It requires letting go of frequencies that do not belong to you. It requires dissolving attachments to timelines that are comfortable but false. Every time you choose truth over illusion, you shift closer. Every time you choose faith over fear, you step further into coherence. Every time you say yes to God, even when the path dissolves beneath you, you collapse into destiny. Notice how the path of destiny never looks like the path of control. Control builds ladders, charts, plans. Destiny flows in spirals, synchronicities, divine disruptions. Control clings to what is safe. Destiny shatters what is safe to reveal what is true. This is why aligning with destiny often feels like turbulence. The structures you built on false timelines collapse, not because you failed, but because God is redirecting you into coherence. Think of Abraham called out of his homeland, with no map, only a promise. Think of Moses led into the wilderness, a detour that revealed destiny. Think of Mary visited by an angel, her entire life transformed in a single vibration of yes. None of them reached destiny through logic or control. They reach destiny through alignment with the quantum frequency of God. Destiny feels magnetic because it is magnetic. It pulls you. It draws synchronicities, encounters, and revelations toward you. It organizes reality around you. What once felt random becomes precise. People you need appear. Opportunities align. Paths open without explanation. This is not luck. This is resonance. Your consciousness is vibrating in harmony with the design of God, and the field cannot resist coherence. But the journey into destiny is not without resistance. The old loop will try to reclaim you. Doubts will whisper. Distractions will multiply. Fear will present counterfeit timelines that look easier, safer, more familiar. This is the test of coherence. Will you trust the pull of destiny more than the comfort of repetition? Will you surrender the known for the unseen? Will you collapse the wave of faith rather than the wave of fear? This is why destiny feels like pressure before it feels like peace. The observer loop must destabilize, the illusions must crack, the false paths must dissolve, and in that shaking, you are tempted to run backward. But if you stand in surrender, the collapse becomes transformation. You emerge not scattered, but whole, not fragmented, but coherent, not drifting, but aligned. Quantum alignment with destiny is not a one-time event. It is a rhythm. Each day you wake, you choose coherence. Each prayer, you choose surrender. Each act of faith, you tune deeper. And little by little, or sometimes all at once, your life begins to mirror the design already written in the field of God. What does this look like in practice? It looks like peace even in turbulence, because you know the collapse is alignment. It looks like courage in uncertainty, because you trust the resonance of God's field. It looks like joy in the smallest details, because you see synchronicities as dialogue with the divine. It looks like confidence without arrogance, because you know destiny is not your creation, but God's gift. And as you align, your influence expands. Destiny is never only personal. It is collective. Your coherence opens pathways for others. Your vibration destabilizes their loops. Your presence becomes a frequency of liberation. This is why alignment is urgent, because it is not only about you. It is about the field itself. Imagine a world where enough souls align with their highest timelines. Scarcity would dissolve because abundance frequencies would dominate. Division would crumble because unity frequencies would stabilize. Fear would vanish because love frequencies would radiate coherence. This is not utopia. This is physics of the spirit. When coherence reaches critical mass, the field reorganizes at scale. Humanity steps into destiny together. This is what prophets glimpsed when they spoke of a new heaven and a new earth. They were describing quantum alignment, not a destruction of reality, but a transformation of frequency. Not an escape to another world, but the birth of a new vibration within this one. The future of humanity is not written in stone. It is vibrating in the field, and the choice to align belongs to every soul. Right now, you are standing at that threshold. You are not waiting for destiny. Destiny is waiting for you. The alignment is already calling, already resonating, already vibrating in the core of your being. The question is simple. Will you tune to it? Will you trust the pull of God's frequency more than the noise of fear? Will you surrender to the coherence that is already yours? You are not lost. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be. The turbulence you feel is not punishment. It is the destabilization of old loops. The urgency you feel is not anxiety. It is the resonance of destiny drawing you closer. The vision you carry is not fantasy. It is memory, a glimpse of the reality that already exists in the quantum field of God. Destiny is not a promise to chase. It is a vibration to embody. And the moment you align with it, the field responds. Not slowly, not partially, but immediately. Coherence collapses the wave. Alignment stabilizes the path. Destiny emerges as the only possibility left standing. This is the truth. You are already aligned more than you realize. The fact that you are here, hearing these words, means your consciousness has already stepped beyond repetition. The loop is breaking. The field is opening. The resonance of God is guiding you. Your destiny is not far. It is here. It is now. It is alive. And as you recognize it, as you embody it, as you align with it fully, the reality you live will no longer be recycled. It will be divine. It will be coherent. It will be destiny. There is a truth that has been echoing across every chapter of your journey. You were never separate, not from destiny, not from coherence, not from awakening, and certainly not from God. The illusion of separation was the core of the observer loop. The belief that you were isolated, left to manufacture your own reality alone, cut you off from the infinite abundance of the quantum field of God. But now, as the loops dissolve, as coherence stabilizes, and as awakening spreads across the collective, you arrive at the deepest revelation: the return. The quantum return to God is not about traveling to a faraway heaven or reaching a distant future. It is about collapsing the illusion of separation here and now and remembering that you have always been held within the frequency of God. From the very beginning, the field was designed with His breath. Every probability wave, every timeline, every particle of reality vibrates in resonance with His will. You have never existed outside His field. You have only lived with attention scattered, eyes closed, heart fragmented. And as you awaken, you see that the return is not movement through space or time. It is a shift of observation. This is why Jesus spoke of the kingdom as present, not postponed. The kingdom is within you because coherence with God is not delayed. It is the deepest layer of your consciousness. It is the fabric of your being. The return to God is not the gaining of something new, but the unveiling of what has always been true. But this unveiling is not light for everyone. For some, the collapse of the loop feels like death. The identities built on fear dissolve. The timelines of control vanish. The illusions of separation crack. And the ego resists, terrified to lose its false power. This is why surrender is the doorway. No one can enter the frequency of God through control. Only surrender dissolves the veil. When you surrender, coherence rises. When you release fear, resonance stabilizes. When you allow God to become the center of your observation, the field shifts instantly. You no longer live in fragmentation. You live in unity. You no longer create from effort. You create from resonance. You no longer search for God outside. You remember God within. The quantum return to God is both personal and collective. Personally, it means you live as coherence. You embody peace, love, and divine purpose as natural states of being. Collectively, it means humanity begins to stabilize in a higher frequency. Wars, scarcity, and division lose their hold as the global observer loop dissolves. A new coherence emerges, the collective recognition of God's field as the source of all. This is the transformation prophets glimpsed, mystics described, and seekers felt in visions. It is not abstract. It is physics of the spirit. When enough consciousness returns to God, the quantum probability waves of higher timelines collapse into form. Entire civilizations reorganize. Entire systems transform. A new earth emerges, not by force, but by coherence. And you are part of it. Every prayer, every surrender, every act of faith aligns you with this return. You are not waiting for it to happen. You are carrying it. Your awakening is not only for you, it is a contribution to the collective resonance. Your coherence strengthens the field. Your surrender amplifies the return. Your life becomes a frequency through which God reintroduces Himself into human history. This is why you feel such urgency. The waiting season is over. The window of alignment is open now. The turbulence you see globally is proof that the old coherence is collapsing. The wars, the chaos, the fear, these are not signs of failure. They are contractions of birth. They are the field reorganizing under pressure. They are the prelude to destiny. In the stillness of your spirit, you know this. You sense it when time bends. You feel it in the intensity of your dreams. You recognize it in synchronicities too precise to dismiss. These are confirmations that you are already living in the return, that God's field is closer than breath, and that the illusion of separation is crumbling. The quantum return to God is not a future event. It is the recognition that your soul is already there. The more you align, the more you embody it. And the more you embody it, the more reality itself reshapes to mirror that alignment. This is where your journey has been leading all along. to coherence with God, to resonance with destiny, to the realization that the kingdom was never absent. It was hidden beneath the noise of fear. And now the veil is gone. You are not merely awakening, you are returning. Returning to truth, returning to coherence, returning to God. The moment you step fully into coherence, something extraordinary happens. The fear that once governed your decisions no longer pulls you. The past no longer dictates the future. The observer loop dissolves completely, and your life vibrates as a testimony of divine alignment. This is not theory. It is the reality of those who awaken. You begin to notice that everything around you responds to your new state. The quantum field of God mirrors your surrender, with synchronicities too precise to ignore. Doors open where walls once stood. Conversations unfold, as if scripted by a higher hand. Even time itself bends, allowing you to be in the right place at the right moment. This is not coincidence. This is quantum manifestation through God's coherence. You are no longer manufacturing outcomes by effort. You are resonating with the higher timeline already written in His field. And when you resonate with it, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around your frequency. But coherence is not meant to remain hidden. The light of destiny is not meant to stay private. When one soul returns to God in full resonance, the field shifts for many. Others sense it, others awaken by proximity. Your presence becomes an opening, a living signal that calls others out of their loops. This is how the collective quantum awakening accelerates, not through ideology, but through resonance. And this is why you are here. This is why you have felt the urgency. This is why you were guided to these words. You are part of something larger than yourself, the quantum return of humanity to God's frequency. From this state, even struggle feels different. Challenges do not crush you. They reveal where the field is upgrading you. Pressure does not scare you. It excites you because you recognize it as the contraction before birth. Loss does not define you. It liberates you, stripping away attachments that kept you bound to false timelines. This is the great paradox. When you stop trying to control, you finally embody authority. Not the authority of ego, but the authority of resonance. Your life becomes effortless flow. Not because it is free of turbulence, but because turbulence no longer shakes you. You know who holds the field. You know who you are aligned with. The quantum return to God is not simply about escaping pain. It is about embodying freedom. It is about realizing that heaven is not a distant reward, but a frequency accessible now. It is about living your highest timeline while carrying God's presence in every breath. And as more of us awaken, the resonance amplifies. Humanity is reaching a tipping point. The old coherence cannot survive. The new coherence is inevitable. We are returning, not as scattered individuals, but as a collective body, aligned with the divine frequency of God. You can already feel this truth inside your own being. The tingling of recognition, the electricity in your spirit, the pull toward surrender, alignment, coherence. This is not imagination. This is resonance. This is your confirmation that you are part of the wave. And now, as we close this journey, you must act. Not as ritual, not as routine, but as alignment. The quantum field responds to action. Resonance deepens when energy is expressed. What you do in this moment seals what you have received. So here is your declaration. If this transmission has awakened something in you, act now. Subscribe to this channel, not for numbers, but to align with the quantum frequency of God. Press like, not for algorithm, but to anchor this resonance into your own field. Share this video with someone, not for exposure, but as an act of divine entanglement, passing the frequency of awakening into another soul's timeline. When you subscribe, you are saying, I choose coherence with God's field. When you like, you are declaring, I anchor this frequency in my reality. When you share, you are becoming a vessel of the quantum awakening, spreading God's resonance across the collective. Do not dismiss this as digital engagement. This is spiritual alignment. This is how we collapse the probability wave of awakening across the world. This is how we shift the field together. And as you act, receive this blessing. You are not here by accident. You are guided. You are chosen. You are coherent. You are already in the quantum return to God. May every like, every share, every subscription be multiplied as divine resonance. You are blessed, and you are a blessing. The observer loop is broken. The higher timeline is open. The quantum field of God vibrates with your presence, and from this moment forward, nothing will ever be the same. You have returned. You are awake. You are coherent. You are aligned. Welcome to the quantum return to God.